Yes.
Great. Okay, hi everyone and welcome to the March OCM. I would just like to acknowledge the continuing connection of Aboriginal people to country, culture and community, including traditional custodians of this land, the Waddundi and Kanang people of the Noongar Nation, paying respects to elders past and present. I declare the meeting open at 5 o'clock and welcome everyone to the meeting. There are no members of the public in the gallery. This meeting is being live streamed in accordance with Council Policy EM CP2. And I'd like to state the following, that this meeting is obviously being live streaming, digitally recorded in accordance with Council Policy. Members of the public are reminded that no other visual or audio recording of this meeting by any other means is allowed without the permission of the chairperson. Whilst every endeavour has been made to only record those who are actively participating in the meeting, loud comments or noises from the gallery may be picked up in the recording. It's not going to be a problem tonight. In attendance, we have, via Teams, we have Councillor Vivian McCarthy. Vivian, would you like to declare your statement?
Pursuant to Section 14CA5 of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, I, President McCarthy, declare that I am situated in a location where I can maintain confidentiality throughout the duration of the meeting.
Thank you. So in attendance tonight we have Councillor Alexis Davey, Councillor Anne Mitchell, myself as Councillor Lisa Glover, Councillor Peter Gubler, Councillor Grant Patrick, Councillor John Bailey, Councillor Anita Lindeman and Councillor Deanna Shand. The staff present today as well up here is, to my left I have the Chief Executive Officer, Nick O'Connor. Over next to him is Lauren Clifford, who is the Acting Director of Finance and Corporate. We have to her left Samantha Farquhar, who is Administration Officer of Corporate Services. And over to my right is Ross Marshall, who's the Director of Operations. And there are no members of public in attendance today. At the start of each council meeting, the resolution should be carried suspending clause 8.2, members to rise of the standing orders as councillors, as having councillors stand when debating. It interferes with the sound quality of the live stream. Can I have a councillor to move that resolution? Councillor Shand, and seconded by Councillor Patrick. All those in favour of that? That's everyone? Okay. 2.1, we have no apologies. We have no approved leave of absences. Are there any applications for leave of absence? Okay, we move on to item 3, which is announcements from the presiding member. So a couple of announcements here, just about things that are happening within our shire. So the first one is about the Blackwood River Arts Trail. It's trial number 5. It's a 2-week annual event which is held across the shires of Donnybrook, Balingup, Bridgetown, Greenbushes, Nannup and Boyart Brook. There are over 100 artists who will display and sell their works at 32 different venues, and the Blackwood River Film Festival screens art house short and feature films at venues in Balingup, Nannup and Bridgetown. There's the Brookfest as well, which is on the 11th of April. It's a Youth Week event which will be held at the Pump Track, starting at 3 p.m. and finishing at 7. There'll be live music, a music workshop, just dance battles, inflatables, a sausage sizzle, and much more. Whether you're going there to jam, dance, or just chill with your crew, this is your youth scene. Bring good vibes only and enjoy. On the 12th of April, it's the Balingup Small Farm Field Day. This event first commenced in 1991 and is run by a dedicated committee of local volunteers. It showcases many aspects of small farming, and the profits made from this event help finance worthy community projects through the Balingup Progress Association. On the 19th of April, it's the Donnybrook Apple Festival. It begins at 10 a.m. on Easter Saturday. This year the festival will be held throughout the main part of town, including Ayers Gardens, Station Square and Egan Park Oval. Entry is free. It is recommended to bring both cash and card. There are some stall holders and community groups which will be cash only. On the 25th of April, as we know, it'll be the Anzac Day ceremony. And then going forward in May, there's the Forest Rally as well, and that's from Thursday the 22nd to Sunday the 25th of May. Lots of opportunities for spectators to enjoy the action out in the forest and the service park. You can see the crews working on the cars. Spectating is free, and you can find more information out by searching forestrally.com.au. And just one final announcement is in relation to the increase of graffiti within our town. It's disappointing to see that last night VC Mitchell Park Pavilion 1 was graffitied. The increase of graffiti impacts on all of our community due to the expense it is to remove it. If anyone knows any information, please report it directly to police. This is an expense our community could actually just do without. Okay, so item number 4 is declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? Items 5 is public question time, which there are nil responses to public questions. 5.2 is public question time, and there is no one here to ask questions. There are no presentations. No deputations, but 6.4 we do have a delegates report and provided by Councillor Davey on the biodiversity offset approvals.
Thanks very much, Deputy President Glover. So this is something that I have presented to councillors before, but I just wanted to put it on the record because there were a number of community members who provided input. Just make sure everyone's up to speed with what's being discussed. So in relation to biodiversity offset plannings, companies are seeking to offset their carbon emissions by purchasing cleared agricultural land across the state for revegetation projects, which earn them carbon credits with the Commonwealth Government. We had a development approval approved by Council last year for a biodiversity planning near Balingup. There's been further correspondence on the DA between an aggrieved party and the proponent since then. The proponent also asked to meet with a representative from Council to better understand our expectations with respect to consultation for these projects. So it was delegated by President McCarthy for me to meet with the proponent. So before doing so, I spoke to about a dozen rates payers on this topic. The people I spoke to included young families, several farmers, traditional, regen, organic, old, young, small scale, large scale, a native nursery, foresters, local small business owners, a representative from the Balingup Progress Association, a local radio host, environmentalists, a weed control contractor, a registered biosecurity group and a volunteer firefighter. So their feedback was very consistent. The main concerns, which I'll go through, were the following. So food security was the standout concern for most people. The issue was regarded as cumulative, with farming land also being bought up for commercial plantations and dealing with the impacts of a drying climate. They were worried we could end up with insufficient arable land and still have companies emitting the same amount. The next item was a preference for such projects to take place on marginal lands, so lands that are impacted by salinity, degraded or steep and rocky country. Better land is more expensive, but yields from planting are higher and easier to maintain, which can make them appealing. The next one was fire risk. So maximising the tonnes per hectare of carbon leads to a high fuel load, and the concerns were that a bushfire can take out the carbon that's been locked up by the plantings, and also that proposals don't come with local people looking after them to volunteer for the bushfire brigades. There was concerns around the loss of social fabric of the community as people were taken off the land, a recognition that country needs people. An important context was provided regarding Baling Up's history of plantations encroaching on the town back in the 1970s, which reinvigorated the Baling Up Progress Association and led to the development of the Golden Valley Tree Park. Concerns regarding pest management. So the 100-year commitment for these projects raises concerns about passive management, similar to that seen on some unallocated Crown land. The preference is for proactive rather than reactive management of weeds and feral animals before the problems become established. This is also a significantly cheaper approach. There was also concern that a 100-year legal agreement essentially makes the developments irreversible, whereas commercial plantations can be returned to farmland, albeit with a lot of work. Other feedback included concerns regarding the quality and or presence of fences, the preference for farming practices that lock up the carbon in soil rather than vegetation, concerns regarding greenwashing and the desire for establishment of real habitat, not just to focus on stem count. Biodiversity plantings were still preferred over other land uses such as mining, but it was mixed feedback as to whether commercial plantations were more or less preferred to biodiversity plantations. The root of the problem was regarded by some as the Commonwealth policy itself, that the option to revegetate farmland was cheaper than actually reducing emissions at the source. Parallels were drawn with the 90s government incentives for blue gum plantations. A number of people spoke about integrating farming and agroforestry for productivity and revegetation outcomes. Integrated farm management offset framework is available. It's under development. It doesn't give us good returns on investment with respect to the volume of carbon credits per hectare, and questions were raised regarding how robust the methodology was. So while proponents may have acceptable mitigating actions for each of these concerns raised by community, it was suggested that there may be a need for policy regarding consultation and common approval conditions on these proposals. The proponent mentioned earlier did provide a deputation at council meeting where their proposal was being considered, but community members I spoke with said that it may be more appropriate that the presentation be made further in advance to allow them time to consider any questions or concerns they would like to raise before the decision was brought to council. So moving deputations to agenda briefings is something that the Shire is working on. It was also suggested that broader consultation than just with immediate neighbours be undertaken on topics such as fire risk management with parties such as the SESM and local bushfire brigades. So I've raised these concerns at both the WBAC, the Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils board meeting, and the Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils Climate Alliance, and it appears to be a common issue across the neighbouring shires. There appears to be a need for consistent guidance for consultation, decision making and setting conditions for these types of approvals. There may also be an opportunity for the Shire, WBAC or Wellga Southwest Country Zone to have input into the integrated farm and land management methodology to support the coexistence of both revegetation and sustained agricultural productivity in the southwest. WBAC has since called for further information on the topic before making any further decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to ask any questions about that presentation? No? Thank you, Councillor Davey.
Yes, I do.
Sure, sorry.
First of all, I'd just like to thank Alexis for taking on this task. It was a very comprehensive report, Alexis, and in delegating to you this research, I couldn't have been more satisfied or happier with the outcomes that you've identified and the insights that you've captured. do we see an action coming out of this that we speak with either at a workshop perhaps, or some way we can now work with the executive to identify how well placed we are to develop a policy for our shire, and whether or not we should be working with WBAC and South West Country Zone. Could I throw that open to you, Councillor Davey, but then also to CEO Nick O'Connor?
Through the chair.
Sure.
Yeah. So in response to that, I actually think it may be something better working with WBAC or neighbouring shires on the issue, because we have not had much exposure to it, is my understanding. So I think we can learn a lot from our neighbouring shires and work together to develop something that is going to be a valuable position for both proponents who want to come into our area with these proposals, but also for all our planning staff, and make sure that we're not creating a barrier to entry that means that these proponents end up just going around us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
CEO.
And through you, Chair, yeah, just echo the sentiments of Councillor Davey. I think there's a lot of advantage in consistency and approach at a regional level. So perhaps the next step is we've got a Warren Blackwood Alliance meeting next Tuesday evening down at Manjimup. So I assume that'll be back on the agenda and there'll be further discussion about the next steps. But then I think once we have a shared understanding or a shared approach with timeframes and actions, then we can bring that back to Council for a discussion and a workshop and a further action planning moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then next item is adoption by exception. So it is that Council adopt the following items en bloc and resolve in accordance with each of the executive recommendations. So there's 7.1, the ordinary council meeting, which was held on the 26th of February. 8.2, local emergency management committee meeting held on the 4th of February 2025. The 8.3 Bunbury Geograph Group of Council meeting held on the 7th of February 2025. 8.5 the Walgett State Council meeting held on the 5th of March 2025. 9.1.1 adoption of Council Policy COMD CP6 events. 9.2.1 the schedule of accounts paid as at 28th of February 2025. 9.2.2 intent to apply CSRFF Small Grant Fund. 9.2.4 Statement of Financial Activity Report as at 28th of February 25. Do we have a councillor to move this recommendation? Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, through the chair, just one small thing. The meeting on the 26th of February has got me down there on 9.1.4 as voting on it. I was not in the room.
That's correct. I didn't read that one out. That will be brought back on.
Sorry, I thought it was there.
Is that the ordinary council meeting you're referring to,
Correct.
Councillor Bailey?
There's not a big thing, but I was outside.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, that was just an administrative oversight, so apologies, we can rectify
No, it's not.
that.
So do we have a councillor to... Is it correct?
So we can make that minor change. So we'll probably pull that one and just get it adopted separately from en bloc.
Sorry, which number was that? I don't have it listed
So it's
online.
7.1. So that's the
7.1?
ordinary council meeting
Yeah.
held on 26th of February. So we'll pull that one and just get it
We'll take that one away.
amended, and we'll put it up on screen to correct that. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not going to read them all out again, but let's exclude 7.1, which was the ordinary council meeting held on the 26th of February 2025. Do we have a mover? Councillor Mitchell? And a seconder? Councillor Patrick? Councillor Mitchell, did you want to say? All those in favour? Okay, so then we move to 7.1, which was the ordinary council meeting held on the 26th of February 2025. So the recommendation is that the minutes from the ordinary council meeting that was held on the 26th of February be confirmed as true and accurate record. Do we have a mover for that item?
So I wonder if you don't mind, presiding member, whether maybe the matter before council is around that the minutes from the ordinary council meeting held on the 26th of February 2025 be confirmed as a true and accurate record, noting the change in voting for item 9.1.4 to remove Councillor Bailey as voting as he had excused himself from the meeting.
Oh, I see. That was one where you had a declaration of a conflict of interest and you did not vote on that item, but it was recorded incorrectly. So, yeah, okay.
Yep. So 9.1.4, that was the item. Yep.
Okay, well, with that amendment then, do we have a mover for this? Okay, so now with that amendment in mind and the record corrected, do we have a mover for this item? Councillor Bailey and seconded Councillor Lindeman. Councillor Bailey, did you want to speak to the item? Councillor Lindeman, did you want to speak to it? All those in favour? So, the next item is item 8.1, which is the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting, which was held on the 18th of March 2025. And I believe that the the Acting Director of Finance and Corporate would like to speak to this item first. Thank you.
Thank you, and through the chair. I just wanted to give an update on the recommendation that has been put, which has changed since the agenda briefing and the discussion there, which was to note that that one, council would receive the unconfirmed minutes. Two, the adoption is recommended as per detailed in the minutes and summarised above. And now we've added number 3, which is to note the following amendments to the item 7.1, the compliance audit return, to remove the words and play equipment from questions 1 and 2 under the disposal of property, as that was an error of information put in there.
Thank you. So, I can't remember where I was up to. Do we have a mover for this item?
No.
No.
We withdrew it from en bloc.
Yeah, it got, so that it could be spoken to. So, yeah. So, Alexis, Councillor Davey, you moving it? Councillor Lindeman seconding it? So, Councillor Davey, would you like to speak to this item?
Yeah, I think this is a really important one to draw the public's attention to, given the raft of actions that arose from the recent audits. We did have CEO Nick O'Connor speak to it briefly at the agenda briefing, but I think it is an area that's going to be a priority for us to get together and workshop. All the items that arose from that audit, it's really good to have it done as a member of the Audit and Risk Committee. I'm glad to see it. It does make me feel more confident that that our internal audit processes, or in this case an external audit, was thorough and has brought to surface the things that need to be systemically addressed. So yeah, I'd like to move this item and see us get on with addressing the issues.
Councillor Lindeman, did you want to speak to the item? I wonder for record, I've made a small error that I didn't read out what the recommendation was of this item, and it's kind of has thrown me out a little bit, so I really apologise for that. But if I could just go back and actually speak to that recommendation as well. So the executive summary is, the report provides the minutes of the Audit and Risk Management meeting held on the 18th of March, and they are an attachment, but the recommendation is item 1.6, Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting, which was held on the 28th of November 2024, and it's to receive the minutes from that they are true and correct. Item 7.1 is the compliance audit return, that the Audit and Risk Management Committee endorse the adoption of the 2024 compliance audit return for the period 1 January 2024 to 31 December 2024, and that's in the attachments as well. Endorse the certification of the 2024 compliance audit return by the Shire President and the Chief Executive Officer prior to the submission to the Department of the Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries by 31 March 2025. And item 3 was to note the change to the local government employee question 4 from yes to not applicable. Item 7.2, I'm not sure if I'm going to read all of these ones out, is review of financial management, risk management, legislative compliance and internal controls. And there are 5 points there as well about the completion of the review, appropriateness and effectiveness of the local government systems and procedures in relation to risk management, internal control, legislative compliance in accordance with Local Government Audit Regulations 1996, Regulation 17. Number 2 is note the completion of the review of the appropriateness and the effectiveness of the local government's financial management systems and procedures in accordance with the Local Government Financial Management Regulations 1996, Regulation 5.2c. Receive the attached report by the CEO detailing the results of the review of the final management, risk management, legislation compliance and internal controls, and report to the Council the results of the Chief Executive Officer's report by providing a copy of the finalised review of financial management, risk management, legislation compliance and internal controls. And number 5, recommend to Council to hold a workshop to discuss the findings and develop a prioritised risk-based improvement plan as soon as practicable. Item 7.3, terms of reference review. The Audit and Risk Committee notes staff are currently reviewing the Audit and Risk Management Committee charter to ensure compliance with the recent amendments to the Local Government Act 1995 and align with the OAG, West Australia Public Sector Audit Committee's Better Practice Guide. Item 7.4, audit findings, progress report, that the Audit and Risk Management Committee, number 1, notes the update provided in the audit findings progress report for the period covering 1 October 2024 to the 28th of February 2025, and that's in the attachments. 7.6, that the committee notes the Chief Executive Officer's update, which is that Council received the unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting held on the 20th, that was already there. Adopt the recommendations of details in the minutes summarised in item 6.1 to 7.6 above be adopted. 3, note the following amendments from 7.1 compliance audit report to remove the words play equipment from question 1 and 2 under disposal of property.
Yep. And apologies, presiding member, there was just an amendment on the fly, sorry, that we just put in the correct date. We just note that it's the 18th of March 2025 as opposed to the previous one. So.
Well picked up, thank you. So, questions around that, or people speaking for the motion. So are you speaking for the motion or are you asking a question? Councillor Patrick, sorry.
Asking a question more so.
Sure.
It's just clarification. So in the recommendation, it's to adopt the recommendation 6.1 to 7.6, but I think there's a 7.5 missing. So it goes 7.4 to 7.6. I just wanted to check, is that a numbering matter? Is there a 7.5 missing that we're not adopting? I just want clarity on that, thanks.
So Mrs. Clifford.
Yes.
Thanks, through the chair. So 7.5 didn't actually have any actions to follow up for council, so that's the reason why it wasn't in there. Next time we can have a note that 7.5 isn't, or that might not be in there for clarification.
Thank you for that. Does anyone want to speak for this motion? Does anybody want to speak against the motion? Councillor Davey, would you like to close?
Yeah, just appreciate that you've unpacked that one because it was a bit of a Trojan horse, that one, with the detail was in the minutes around all the things that we're adopting by adopting this item. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I jumped ahead of it and yeah, still got my lunar plates on, but yeah, thank you for that. So all in favour? It's passed. So 8.4.
Southwest Country Zone.
Oh, that's right. No, that was So item 8.4 is the Southwest Country Zone meeting that was held on the 21st of February 2025. The recommendation is that the minutes from the Southwest Country Zone meeting held on the 21st of February 2025 be received. Does anyone want to move the item? Councillor McCarthy and Councillor Lindeman. Councillor McCarthy, would you like to speak to the item?
Yes, I'd just like to put forward an amendment, please, with the wording that was provided earlier.
Oh.
8.4. You don't have a screen.
Oh, don't.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it?
The amendment is that council acknowledges receipt of the minutes from the Southwest Country Zone meeting held on the 21st of February 2025, noting the scheduling conflict with the Shire of Donnybrook Strategic Planning Day, which was given priority.
Probably Balingup needs to be in Shire of Donnybrook.
Not sorry. Sorry, yes, excuse me.
No,
the
that's
Shire
not
of Donnybrook Balingup Strategic Planning Day, which was given priority.
Thank you for reading that out. Just wanted to bring attention to the fact with that amendment that we did consider the scheduling conflict and discuss the matter with the chair of the Southwest Country Zone and because of the difficulty we had with people who work and have other jobs in our council, we had great difficulty in finding a date that was suitable to everyone. And looking at the agenda of the Southwest Country Zone, we considered, both CEO and I and the chair of the Southwest Country Zone meeting decided that the priority would be best served to attend to our strategic planning day.
Thank you for speaking to the amendment, but I guess just following process that we really needed a mover for that amendment as well as a seconder, is that correct?
Well, I guess there's a couple of ways we can deal with this, presiding member. I think it's probably I think the motion before council, which is purporting to be an amendment, is probably the motion before council. It's not actually an amendment. It was the recommendation that went up was really just to receive and adopt the minutes of the Southwest Country Zone. If I'm following the bouncing ball of Councillor McCarthy's intention. It wasn't actually, there was not actually a moved and second motion. It was Councillor McCarthy's intention to move an alternate motion to the executive recommendation. So
that's correct, similar to what we did to the minutes of the last OCM.
It's probably just the motion, the substantive motion.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So, Councillor Lindeman, would you like to speak to that motion as well? Councillor McCarthy, sorry, would you like, is there a question or are you speaking against?
Thanks. I guess, so I would be going to speak against, but I want to speak against the alternate motion because all this motion actually is for is just to acknowledge receipt of the minutes. Regardless of the fact that we weren't there or anything else, I acknowledge what President McCarthy's saying, but we're just acknowledging receipt of the minutes. And to me, that's the crux of it. The rest of it it's nice to inform the community that we did give it due consideration. But the original motion is just to receive the minutes, and that's what I'm happy to do because I don't know anything about noting the discussions around the conflicts or anything else. I'm sure it happened, but I can't say yay to that because I wasn't part of that, know nothing of that. I'm happy to say that I would receive the minutes. So from my perspective, I'm speaking against the alternate motion. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we need to step it back and we need to take this as an amendment and, an amendment. So if we take it back and we put it on the table and then Councillor McCarthy has made an amendment, who would like to support the amendment for Councillor McCarthy?
Excuse me, through the chair.
Yes.
Am I not correct in moving the motion and then proposing my amendment? Once it was seconded by Councillor Lindeman, and then in speaking to it, I proposed my amendment.
My understanding, if I'm okay with this, is that we put the item on the table and then yourself and Councillor Lindeman moved it and then you've made an amendment. So my understanding now is that we need to put the amendment on the table and speak to that and then we make it the item.
Yep. Okay, yep.
Okay, so...
My apologies, yep.
Yeah, is that okay? That's how I understand this to be processed.
Yep.
So, Councillor McCarthy has...
I haven't spoken yet. If that's what you'd like to do, I haven't yet spoken to the...
I need to have someone second it first and then we'll speak to it if that's okay. So does anyone want to second the amendment? Yeah, so... Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Okay, Councillor McCarthy, would you like to speak to this amendment?
I'd just like to have it noted because as it stands, it looks like we haven't turned up to the meeting and that can create the wrong impressions. I'd just like to let it know that there was a scheduling conflict and we prioritised our strategic planning day because otherwise it can be interpreted that I was a no-show to that meeting.
Councillor Mitchell, would you like to speak to this item?
Yeah, I'm actually fine with that. I actually know that it was on that date, so people are always wanting further information and open and transparency, so I think we support this item is, just goes that little bit further for doing that, so thank you.
Councillors, would anyone like to speak for this amendment? Councillor Davey?
I just had a question. Are we marked as an apology on the minutes?
Correct.
Okay.
Anyone like to speak against this motion? Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Look, just sort of reiterating what I previously stated, but from my perspective, just from due process, if we wanted something noted on the minutes, as Councillor Davies just sort of referred to, our apology should be noted on the minutes, and members of that committee or council, put the changes through on those minutes, and that's where it's reflected of our apology. From my perspective or our perspective, what we're being asked to do in the first instance is to acknowledge receipt of the minutes. I wasn't present at the meeting, I wasn't present at the discussions for the apologies. Happy to accept the minutes, but anything outside of that, I can't endorse because I wasn't involved, wasn't engaged with it and wasn't aware of it. Thanks.
Thank you. So would you like to close the debate, Councillor McCarthy?
Yep, no, I'll close it off and we can vote on that.
So you're happy for us to vote? Or did you
yes,
want...
Please.
Did you, oh, okay, sorry. So those in favour of the amendment? So that's
3.
1, 2, 3, 3, 4. Those against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The amendment's been defeated.
Okay, so now we'll go back to the initial recommendation that the minutes of the South West Country Zone meeting that was held on the 21st of February 25 be received. So we've already had a mover and a seconder, so I'll go back to the mover to ask if she would like to close the debate. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yep, sorry. Yes, is there anyone who'd like to speak for this item?
Yeah, I'd just like to make sure that anything that's happening in the background with emails and such isn't caught up in meetings, because I feel like this item should have been discussed outside of the meeting, not brought into the meeting, and I feel like it's wasting people's time. So I'd just like that noted, thanks.
Would anybody like to speak for this item? Would anybody like to speak again? Oh, sorry, for the item, Councillor Bailey?
Just a question through the chair. Was there nobody else available to go to that meeting?
What was just reported before was that that was the day of the strategic planning meeting. So, yeah, it was difficult for everyone to attend. Yeah. So, and everyone, anyone else want to speak for the item? Anyone else want to speak against the item? Councillor McCarthy, you've already reported that you would like to just close, you don't have a debate to close the item?
No, just go ahead.
All those in favour? That's
Unanimous?
passed.
Yep.
Is it 9.2.3?
Yeah,
The statutory
it's
budget
the,
review?
Yeah.
Yep. So 9.2.3 is the statutory budget review as at the 31st of January 2025. The executive recommendation is that Council adopts the 2024-25 budget review as presented in attachment 9.2.61 for the period 1 July 2024 to 31st of January 2025 and amend the budget accordingly. And note the budget review for the period of 1 July 2024 to 31 January 2025 generates a budgeted surplus of $125,157. Would councillors like to move this item? Thank you, Councillor Patrick. Councillor Lindeman. Councillor Patrick, would you like to speak to this item?
No, only in that if people do have questions, I think it was fairly well covered off and explained at the agenda briefing, which is available through the recording. So there were questions asked by council. I think, particularly for my satisfaction, the questions were answered, and appreciate the work that's been done to get us to this point. Thank you.
Councillor Lindeman, would you like to speak to the item? Anyone have any questions? Anyone speaking for or against this item? Okay, so Councillor Patrick, would you like to speak again? Thank you. All those in favour?
It's unanimous. Yep.
That's passed.
That's the majority. Yep.
Okay.
10.1.
Sorry, 10.1?
10.1, yeah.
Catching up, sorry. Item 10.1 or 10 is elected member motions, of which previous notice has been given. So 10.1 is to join the Waterwise Council program. This elected member's motion was prepared by Councillor Davey, and the motion is that Council join the Waterwise Council program. Would anyone like to move this item? Councillor Davey? Anyone like to second it? Councillor Patrick? Councillor Davey, would you like to speak to the item?
Yeah, so recognising that we're working within a cost and resource constrained environment, especially as we've just accrued a whole raft of new actions from the recent audits, which I mentioned previously, it does seem counterintuitive to bring another commitment to the table. So I acknowledge that. I can see a smirk there from Mr. Marshall. However, we as councillors are required to think strategically and act on strategic risks to the organisation and not simply be reactive to the operational problems in front of us at any point in time.
So I think careful management of critical raw material like water falls into this category. We're obliged to balance short and long-term interests at the same time. I'd love to back this up with a risk register demonstrating the significance of the risk relative to others that we're managing, so we could weigh that up. But we're still navigating the implementation of our new risk framework, one of the obligations that is taking up resources and will once we're fully staffed. So the upsides to joining this program is that we can work with our neighbouring shires to improve our understanding of where and how much water we're using, how much it costs, where the opportunities are for improvement, both for the shire and more broadly for our community, that we can build on how others have made similar improvements rather than reinvent the wheel, and even potentially access some cash to help us do it. That we can make progress against an item in our strategic community plan. So my apologies, item 4.1 is referenced in the report, but it's actually item 4.2, conserve and manage water resources, which is the relevant one here. It's been identified by the community as something they want to focus on. That we do what we said we'd do in our climate action plan, which was a public commitment. So item M8 was join the Waterwise Councils program, and that had a target date of 2023. Ultimately, though, if you put all of this paperwork aside, the intent is that we manage our risks relating to water scarcity in the longer term and maintain the livability and productivity of our shire rather than being forced to be reactive once shortages and drought arise. The impacts, though, are resourcing. So I've brought this item to Council at this time of year to allow us to consider it prior to budget setting for 25-26 and ensure that resources can be allocated appropriately rather than adding another estimated half day a month to an already stretched team. This is something our peers are addressing through the employment of a sustainability officer. It's something we could potentially consider in the future in reviews of our workforce plan, but it's not something I'm proposing now. The Shire also raised the issue in the draft report relating to the reputational risk of us overcommitting and under-delivering when we already know that we're stretched. So we have already committed publicly to this item in the aforementioned plans. So from here we can manage our level of commitment. The process is that we sign a memorandum of understanding. We set a practical action plan with practical timelines and report how we're going annually. And on a broader note, if this motion is defeated and we're not willing to take these steps at this point in time, then it's probably a good time for us to reconsider our commitment to the public climate action plan and the policy that goes with it. Because if it's not core business and it's not something that we can practically take on at this point in time, that's quite a long plan, there's just one item in it, then it's a broader discussion that I think we should have in the short term. That's all I've got to say at this point. Any questions?
Councillor Patrick, would you like to speak to this motion?
Only very briefly, you know, not going to deny it's not an area that I'm, you know, really au fait with. But looking at the comprehensive report that Councillor Davey submitted, particularly the references to previous commitments from previous shires, it does that those shires are made up, or those councils, sorry, are made up of representatives from the community, which to me says that it is something that the community's been asking for a period of time, and I think it's our sort of obligation to support what is that the community has elected members to represent them to progress with, which is why I would be supporting this motion. Thanks.
Okay, so I'd like to firstly ask for councillors who would be talking in support of this item. Oh, sorry, councillor. Sorry, I didn't see you. Sorry. Yes.
Through the chair, I was late. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got to make a start on this. You know, the memorandum of understanding is a standard document that 64 councils have signed, and we don't have to jump in wholeheartedly to start off with. We start to work out what we can do without spending too much money. But I think it's a conversation that we've got to start, and the sooner the better.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak for the item? Oh, would you like to ask?
No, I just have questions.
Oh, okay, sorry. Would you like to ask a question, dear? Councillor Shand, you're throwing me out with a question.
Yeah, sorry about that, because I'd like to make a decision after I've asked the question.
Sure.
I'm trying to get my head around whether or not we are committing to something here or whether or not we're investigating the costs associated with it. Because I'm reading through and I'm seeing that it's saying that, you know, the petition, what was it? There was one where it said the motion 1, 2 and 3 and acknowledge that it's considered motion 1, 2 and 3 and instruct the Chief Executive Officer to investigate. So I'm just wondering, are we actually agreeing to a MOU or are we investigating?
No, well done, madam. Is it withdrawn?
Councillor Davey, do you have a response to that? Because I probably
So
do
the
too.
motion on the table is that council join the Waterwise Council program, so that would mean signing the MOU. Yeah.
And I think that
Could I just, sorry, I was just going to do a point of order. It's
Yeah.
normally like an affirmative and then someone against, a councillor against the motion and then back to someone that is for the motion. So I think we've had two
Okay.
fours and then a question.
Okay.
So just a point of
Sure.
order there.
Thank you. Acknowledged. But I do feel that the reading of the resolution, if I can make a bit of clarity around it, it's because it's been circulating around for a number of years as well, and that's in the report too. So does anybody want to speak against the item?
I'll speak against the item, please.
Councillor Lindeman?
Thank you. Look, I'm not in support of the motion, although I really want to be, Councillor Davey. I really want to be councillors. I do. If I could see some action happening, I'd be in. But yes, I've become somewhat cynical with so much talk, planning, reporting, studies, signing up to commitments, and maybe a feasibility study thrown in, costing more time and more money, when the steps could be as simple as taking a few small actions by Shire and individuals. Let's just turn the taps off sooner, plant different plants, retain as much remnant bushland and trees as possible, take care of our rivers and reduce erosion, use water-saving timers in the rec, community and sporting centre, capture rainwater or recycle rainwater where possible. An example of recycled water use is the orchard below the settling ponds on the highway. They are all irrigated with Donnybrook treated grey water. Also, I like to mention the thing I smell when I run past there at the settling ponds is not a stench you might think, but it's even worse. It's the burgeoning smell of perfumes, fragrances and synthetic sweet candy-like aromas. It would be far better if we made choices to utilise 100% natural and biodegradable products that go down our drains, and anyone with a septic knows you've got to keep it simple. The first step to the resolution was presented in the OCM in September 2022, receiving the WBAC Climate Change Policy and Action Plan. It states certain actions outlined in the plan can be accommodated within existing Shire resources and part of businesses as usual approach, whilst others require additional dedicated resources and external funding. I believe Shire staff are already implementing more sustainable environmental principles and conscientious usage of water, demonstrated in choices of planting and mulching, water-saving devices and hand watering methods. Timing is always important, and currently the Shire has less staff with a heavy workload. This can add to stress, more sick leave, low morale and less job satisfaction, and ultimately the inability to retain staff. Timing, people want to be happy in their workplace, kick goals, enjoy the buoyant vibe and fun of a great friendships inside a supportive workplace. In 2025, happiness at work is no longer a soft business metric, it's a direct predicator of productivity, loyalty and success. I do believe the Water Corp website has already many initiatives listed that individuals can implement or take a variety of offers. I've twice come down to the Shire and picked up my own free water saving shower head. My feedback is pointless, as they're plastic, they break within 12 to 18 months. Not sure how much energy, water and waste these ultimately add to the problem, but having an egg timer and showering for 3 minutes seems to work for home use. Or like my dad back in the day, with 5 in the household, he'd just turn the water off at the mains. You can also get a rainwater tank rebate of up to $1,000. I have plenty of my own tanks, no incentive was needed. I also took up the offer of a free inspection by a plumber of water pipes, a meter check, looking for leaky taps and running toilets. A small job was free, bigger, and you could book them in for a grey water system, or just hook up a hose onto the lawn and use it. As long as you got 100% biodegradable products, done that for 15 years, all the natives are thriving. These offers come up regularly, and there is no reason we can't share water-saving tips on our website or to discuss on other media platforms from time to time. I do not want to add us as a Waterwise Council for namesake only, and see nothing more than what we are already accomplishing through our own sustainability and environmental values and commitments. I read through the Waterwise program for councils on the Water Corp website. I see really no value, but it's a feel-good for sure, with the opportunity to attend the annual Waterwise recognition event, where you can get a pat on the back, or the other, the Waterwise Forum event for networking. Let's just do the right thing as a Shire and lead by example whilst we continue working with our biggest industry down the road and our local MLA up the road to keep in front of any funding initiatives that will help preserve this precious resource.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Councillor Lindeman. Does anyone else want to speak against this item? Councillor Shand?
I'd say ditto. The second thing that strikes me is that I don't know if there's a missing piece in there, but I don't like to commit to anything unless I actually know what the costs are going to be. Grant funding, we don't know what's going to happen with grant funding. At the whim of a newly elected cabinet, things can change again, and I don't want to commit this community to having to do another program. I'd prefer to look at it with sustainable options within house.
Would anyone else like to speak against the item? Sorry?
Councillor McCarthy.
I still didn't hear you. But yeah, we've had for and against now, yes. So, oh, sorry, Councillor McCarthy, are you speaking against the item?
Can't hear you, Councillor McCarthy.
Apologies. Yes, I would like to echo Councillor Lindeman's sentiment that she wants to be approving it, but for different reasons, I would love to be approving this. But I think essentially our timing or our competing demands for resources at the moment is working against us on this one. Perhaps it's something that we could look at in the next budget process, but at the moment we have such tremendous output that we need to workshop through the assessment of our financial management, risk management and internal controls. That report is putting further demand on our resources if we want to address those issues. Plus we have other resource constraints that are stretching our staff and putting pressure on them that is not conducive to creating a safe work environment. So while I support this ambition, I'm suggesting that its timing is out. And while it's a very, very important priority, and I support everything you've said, Councillor Davey, I just think our timing is really against us here. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to speak against the item? Councillor Mitchell?
I'll speak against, and yep, I, like everyone else, totally supports this. I did actually contemplate putting in a alternative motion, getting my words right, that we just put it before the budget. Then I thought again, and I thought in the end, it's probably going to be something we can cut, because I've got every faith in the officers and everyone that has the ability to save some water in some way, that they will implement that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davey, would you like to close?
Yeah, look, on a 38-degree day at the end of March, the tone of my motion clearly displays my shared helplessness at the progress of environmental action in response to ever-increasing challenges. So the onus on individuals to do better without leadership is a good one, but it doesn't fill me with a lot of hope. So seeing the state government dropping the climate action portfolio and resigning themselves to now only have a climate resilience
Sorry, I just got
portfolio.
to do a point of order. I don't think you can bring in new information when you're on your close.
Yep. So this is in relation to the individuals, the onus being on individuals, which was the point that you raised?
It can only be reinstating what it was that you were actually speaking
So
to
your
in the
right of
beginning.
reply is you cannot reply?
Yeah, you can only reinforce what it is that you were saying in the beginning. Yeah, I know it doesn't make sense, but that's
Okay.
the rules.
So let's just do better is a great sentiment, but I struggle to see us improving when we don't know what the baseline is. So the costs were stated up front, being the half a day of someone's time to manage and report on the program. They are the costs.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. All those in favour for this item?
4. Okay, just get your hands up. 4.
All those against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Tight one. Thank you.
Motion was lost. Yep, so the motion was lost.
The motion was lost. Can't find the next one.
So 10
Oh, no, I have it now. Sorry. 10.2. How could I lose that one? This is another elected member's motion, one that was prepared by myself. And the motion is that we request the Chief Executive Officer to investigate the process and timeline for the Shire of Donnybrook Balingup to reduce the number of elected members from 9 to 7 for the 2027 election and bring a report back to Council for consideration at its May Ordinary Council meeting. So can I get a mover for this item? Councillor Shand and a seconder? Councillor Goobler? Sorry?
I think that's your motion.
Oh.
You should move it.
Oh, okay. Take that back. Just rewind just for a minute. I'll be the mover for the motion because I'll be able to speak to it, but can I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Shand. Councillor Shand. I'm sorry. Okay. So this is a motion that I'm presenting today for consideration, one that aligns with the evolving landscape of local government and the responsible management of our Shire resources. As we are aware, the current local government reforms provide an opportunity to review our council structure. Under these reforms, we now have the option to adjust our council size in line with the population-based thresholds. After careful assessment, could be proposed that the Shire of Donnybrook Balingup reduce the number of elected members from 9 to 7, which would be effective from the election in 2027. This proposal is not about numbers, it's just about ensuring greater efficiency, financial responsibility and streamlined governance. Currently in our 2024-25 budget allocation, it's costing $1,200 per councillor in allowances, and by reducing the number of councillors to 7, we could actually just achieve an annual saving just there of $24,244. So funds that can be redirected towards key community projects and services that benefit our residents. Oh, did I say? What did I say? Sorry. Oh, sorry, 12,000. Oh, thank you. Rewind, go back, $12,122 per councillor. Thank you for that correction. So in total, just with reducing 2 councillors, at that amount, it's $24,244. The money could be spent on community projects, services that benefit our residents. So beyond financial considerations, a smaller council can enhance decision-making efficiency while still ensuring balanced and effective representation. Fewer councillors, each will play a more active role in discussions and decision making, fostering deeper engagement and accountability. In addition, this change will encourage those who stand for election to do so with strong commitment to the role, fully understanding the responsibilities and dedication required. A smaller council also embraces stability by hopefully ensuring there are a sufficient number of replacement candidates should an elected member choose to resign mid-term, helping to maintain continuity in governance. Of course, any change to our council's composition must be undertaken with transparency and in consultation with our community. It is essential that our residents understand this is not about just reducing representation, but ensuring our council operates in a way that is financially sustainable, effective and still responsive to community needs. I would encourage my fellow councillors to support this motion as it represents a positive step for the Shire of Donnybrook-Balingup. Together we can ensure that our governance structure remains strong and accountable. So, Councillor Shand, would you also like to speak in opening this item?
The figures also don't include training fees, potential for super, motor vehicle allowances, etc. So I agree with what you've said. I had actually talked about this when I was first elected, that I was surprised that in a shire of our size that we actually had 9, when a lot of the band 3 I'd been speaking to were moving to 7. So it was just about efficiencies and dollar savings. So I'm in favour of it, to save money, really.
Would anybody like to speak for, well, first of all, let's go back. Does anyone have a question? So we'll do the question bit first.
Yep, I have a couple of questions. I guess, I mean, this is just a report initially is what you're asking, yeah? Just, I suppose that there'll be a real emphasis on letting potential candidates know the hours. I think in the past, perhaps they may be hours that might be looking a lot less than what we do. They're not regular hours, they're quite irregular. So I think some real information when someone puts their hand up would be important, because as we've seen with the numbers that we have had,
so can I just...
often they're gone. So the question is...
Oh,
the question is... just will there be some information in that report regards how you would communicate hours for potential candidates?
Can I answer that question? That part is, the report is just about how it can get done. It's also looking at transparency and communication and consultation with our community as well. So the report is based on that. I'm thinking that what your question is around is the next step when we, further promote councillors to the job. I don't see that this would create more hours for councillors. It would probably create less hours for councillors, to be fair. I would say that because there would be less conversation happening, less time needed.
Yeah, without getting ahead of...
Point of order, we're debating instead of answering the question.
Okay, so, all right, is there anybody wanting to speak for this item? Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Look, I'm speaking for the motion because I am supportive of requesting the administration to provide information around what the process and timeline might look like, as well as the implications. I wanted it to be clear and on the record that this isn't a proposal to actually reduce. I think there needs to be a significant amount of community consultation. I appreciate that we're a lower, reasonably small headcount of community, but we're a very diverse community with lots of different individual communities within the community. So I am supportive of requesting the administration to investigate and provide a report around the process, timeline and implications. Now that's missing from this, but I have been assured at the agenda briefing that the implications would be part of that report that's provided back. So I am supportive of that piece of work being done to then provide the council with the opportunity to make an informed decision if they wish to proceed down that path and what that would look like. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking for Councillor Davies, speaking for the item?
Yeah, I share a similar sentiment to Councillor Patrick in that I would like to understand the implications more, given the number of subcommittees that we are expected to be a part of and the time commitment involved with those, WBAC, the Climate Alliance, any other subcommittees that people are involved in, LEMP, etc. I really want to understand the implications because I feel like if you have less people doing more hours to cover those subcommittees, then the expectation will be for more pay. So it may be a false saving.
Speaking for the item, Councillor
Just a
Lindemann?
question again, please, if I may, or, yep, through the chair. Just would like to ask that within the report, we cover off the potential of how preferential voting now affects local elections.
Can I recommend that if you wanted to add to the item that perhaps it needs to be an amendment, and I'll just throw over to Councillor McCarthy because she was speaking for that.
I'd like to ask a question, please, if I may, Chair.
Sure.
Just through the Chair of the CEO, do we have capacity to do this study and the report?
Yes, we do. Yep.
Okay. And then when you're ready, Chair, I'd like to speak to it.
Would you like to speak for it? And then we'll come back to you, Councillor Lindemann, with an amendment.
Okay. The areas I'd like to see covered, it's not just cost. Cost is a very attractive argument, and I'd love to see us reduce spend in this area. However, a quick calculation to Councillor Davies' comment around resourcing and the commitment that the 9 councillors have now. We have 14 councillor representations on committees at the moment. So of the committees that we cover, the ones that I could recall, that means we have 14 people allocated to those. And just as my experience of chairing, it's sometimes difficult to get everyone in the one room at one time because we actually pay a supplement to an existing income. We actually don't have a big enough ratepayer group to pay councillors a sizable amount that allows them to then let go of some other commitments in their life so that they can focus on council work. So while we have 9 councillors, we don't have 9 councillors working full-time on council or being able to dedicate a lot of time. So I guess they're my concerns that would need to be included into this report. Thank you.
Councillor Lindemann.
Yeah, thank you. I really was just a question, probably of clarification rather than an amendment, and that was just that in this report's a big, document that it's covered off, preferential voting is covered off on how that could look when you reduce the numbers and how people can go on the one ticket and et cetera, and you can get... Anyway, I just want to get some sort of clarification in that the report would cover that off on how it may look or could look.
I guess that might broadly fall under the implications section. So so if that's indeed, yep.
Okay. So does anyone else want to speak for this item? Would anyone like to speak against the item? So in closing, a lot of it is around numbers, it is around space, but it's also just to investigate what it could look like being 7 as opposed to 9. I know there's other shires that have done the same. It's just streamlining what we can do here. as previously said. So I would urge everyone to consider going and voting for this item. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 11, no new business of an urgent nature. Item 12, no meetings to be closed to public. Item 13, the presiding member advises that the next agenda briefing session will be held on the 16th of April 2025 at 5 p.m. in the Shire of Donnybrook, Balingup Council Chamber. I hereby declare the meeting closed at 6:14 p.m.